Welcome to another deep dive, and this time we're focusing on a place that might just change how you think about hidden gems. We're going to South Canara, that's a district in Karnataka, India, known for, well, beautiful landscapes, but also a really impressive literacy rate, even in their villages.
Yeah, and it's especially interesting, I think, when you consider the historical context.
Absolutely. And you know what's really cool? We get this unique perspective on this story. We're looking at an excerpt from a book by Sudha Murthy. She talks about her personal experience there, and it really sheds some light on what drives this culture of education.
Yeah, having that personal point of view is so valuable. It's one thing to just look at statistics, but to actually understand the human stories behind them, that's where you get real depth.
Right, and Murthy's story, it begins with her arriving in this village right in the middle of monsoon season. The rains are so heavy that she has to find shelter, and she ends up staying with the local family, the school chairman's family, actually.
Oh, classic example of Indian hospitality, right? Welcoming strangers like that, it's really part of their culture. That says a lot about the region.
For sure. And then this really key moment happens. She's talking with the family's mother, Kutama, and she's curious about, why the literacy rate's so high there. So she just asks Kutama about her own education. Now, I'm curious, why do you think understanding the past generations is so important in this case?
Well, it gives us that background. Kotama's story, it takes us back about 60 years. Back then, the social pressures, poverty, and even the government support for education was totally different from today. So if we understand the challenges that she faced, we can really start to appreciate the values that came out of that and how they impacted the next generations.
Okay, so tell me about Kutama. What was her life like?
Imagine this. Kutama couldn't even afford to go to school herself. She worked as a coolie in a school teacher's garden just to make ends meet. But she had a son, a Thapa, and she was determined that he would get an education.
Kutama's story really strikes me because even though she was going through all that, she still believed so strongly in the power of education. What do you think drove her to feel that way?
It's a good question. I mean, was it just something that was ingrained in their culture? Or was it a personal experience that showed her how much knowledge could change things? I don't know for sure, but her dedication to her son's education, it really shows that she understood its value, for the long term.
Yeah, and that dedication, it really sets the stage for Ifapa's whole journey. It's kind of like a classic rags to riches story, wouldn't you say?
Mhm.
He starts out as just a hotel boy in Mumbai, goes to night school while he's working, eventually gets a degree, and then builds up this successful hotel business.
It shows how hard he worked, but also how much his mother's support meant. It really proves that point, that education can be a way to move up in the world, to break out of poverty.
But it's not just about his personal success, right? Even though he accomplished so much, he ends up going back to his village. His mother asked him to. And this is where the story gets really interesting. Aithapa wants to, shower his mother with jewels and stuff, but she has a different idea. She wants him to build schools.
That's a powerful statement about what real wealth is, wouldn't you say? It challenges the way we normally think about success. It puts the focus on education as something that lasts. It makes you think that investing in knowledge is the most valuable gift you can give.
Wow, it really is. I mean, choosing education, choosing to give other people opportunities over having fancy things for herself, it says so much about what Kutama taught her son.
For sure. And it's interesting. Her story isn't unique. If you look at South Canara, there's this whole pattern of putting education first. And it's led to some pretty amazing things.
I was thinking about those Udupi restaurants. You see
Yeah.
them everywhere, right? Like big cities, small towns, all over the world. It seems like people from this region, they're really good at, starting businesses and stuff. Do you think that has anything to do with their focus on education?
Hmm, that's a good point. I mean, we can't say for sure based on just this one story, but the excerpt does talk about how people from South Canara have always traveled a lot to find work, and they were successful in all these new places. So it shows that they're adaptable, willing to learn new things, and to take risks. Those are definitely qualities that help you if you want to start your own business.
So it's not just about learning things, it's also about actually using what you learn, right? Being resourceful and creative.
Exactly. And maybe that's one of the reasons why South Carolina has done so well. It's not just about how many people can read and write. It's about having this whole culture where education actually helps people in real life.
Yeah.
It gives them the power to create their own chances, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them too.
It's like that saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Kutama wasn't just helping her son, she was setting things up so that her whole family could benefit for generations.
Exactly. That's the ripple effect of what she did. Asking her son to build schools, it wasn't just about giving people access to education. It was about creating this whole system where learning could help the community grow and get better. It's about giving people the tools to make changes themselves.
It also makes you wonder about like the role women like Kutama played in all of this. Even though she never went to school herself, she really got how important knowledge was, and she made sure her son felt that way too. Kind of challenges the idea that education only happens in schools, don't you think?
It definitely does. Kotama's story shows us how important it is to learn things from the older generations, from our families and communities. Her influence, and probably a lot of other women like her, shaped what a whole generation valued and hoped for.
And in the end, it created a region known for its high literacy rate, its entrepreneurial spirit, and its strong sense of community. It just shows that education isn't stuck in classrooms or textbooks. It's something much bigger. It's part of what makes a society what it is. It's really something how Kutama's story makes you think differently about what it means to be wealthy. It's not just about having a lot of possessions. It's about investing in something way more meaningful, something that lasts, like the potential of future generations.
It really makes you think, especially today when everyone's so focused on material success. Her story makes us ask ourselves, what kind of legacy are we leaving behind? Not just stuff, but values, opportunities.
That's a good point. This whole idea of education being like a legacy, a jewel even, something more valuable than any material wealth, that's something we've been talking about a lot. It makes you wonder what kind of impact each of us can actually have.
Yeah, it reminds us that what we do, the choices we make, they have a ripple effect. It doesn't just affect us, but also the people around us, even people in the future.
And it shows how important it is to have conversations between different generations. Kutama might not have had a formal education, but she had so much wisdom and understanding about life. Her wanting her son to build schools, it's like she could see into the future.
Definitely. And it also tells us that education isn't just a one-way street. We learn from those who came before us, their wisdom and experiences. It's a back and forth that shapes our values and what we hope for.
Like that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. It seems like it also takes a village and all its knowledge to build a culture that really values education.
Absolutely. The reasons why South Canara has been so successful are probably really complex, but Kutama's story gives us a little peek into the values that made it happen.
It's a story that really leaves us with a lot to think about. What are the things we value most in our own lives and our communities? Are we focusing on things that will really last? Are we encouraging learning and giving people the power to grow?
Those are some great questions to consider as we go about our lives. In the end, the story of South Canara shows us that true success isn't just about what we accomplish individually, it's about creating something that helps future generations. And that all starts with the choices we make today.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. We hope you found this exploration of South Canara as inspiring as we did. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to connect with us on our social media platforms. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.